Chapter 28. The Book of Horses, Races and Shooting. Chapter 1. Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of judgment. It was narrated that Salama bin Nufail al-Kindi said, I was sitting with the messenger of Allah when a man said, O messenger of Allah, the people have lost interest in horses and put down their weapons, and they say there is no jihad, and that war has ended. The messenger of Allah turned to face him and said, They are lying, now the fighting is to come. There will always be a group among my ummah who will fight for the truth, for whom Allah will cause some people to deviate and grant them provision from them until the hour begins and until the promise of Allah comes. Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection. It has been revealed to me that I am going to die and will not stay long, and you will follow me group after group, striking one another's necks. And the place of safety for the believers is Ash-Sham, Great Sahih. It was narrated that Abu Huraira said, The messenger of Allah said, There is goodness tied to the forelocks of horses. Until the day of resurrection. And horses are of three types. Those that bring reward to man, those that are a means of protection for man, and those that are a burden of sin for a man. As for those that bring reward, they are kept for the cause of Allah and for jihad. No fodder enters their stomach, but for everything that enters their stomachs, reward is written for him, even if he puts them out to pasture. And he quoted the hadith. Great Sahih. It was narrated from Abu Huraira that the messenger of Allah said, Horses may bring reward to a man, or they may be a means of protection, or they may be a burden of sin. As for that which brings reward, it is a man who keeps it for the cause of Allah and ties it with a long rope. In a pasture or a garden, whatever it eats or drinks in that pasture or garden will count as good deeds for him. If it breaks its rope and jumps over one or two hills, its footsteps, and according to the hadith of Al-Harith, its dung will count as good deeds for him. If it passes by a river and drinks from it, even though its owner did not intend to give it water from that river, that will also bring him reward. If a man keeps a horse in order to earn an independent living and avoid asking others for help, and he does not forget his duty toward Allah with regard to the horses' necks and backs, then they will be a means of protection for him. If a man keeps horses out of pride, to show off before others and to fight the Muslims, then that will be a burden of sin for him. The Prophet was asked about donkeys, and he said, Nothing has been revealed to me concerning them except this verse, which is comprehensive in meaning. So whosoever does good equal to the weight of an atom or a small ant shall see it, and whosoever does evil equal to the weight of an atom or a small ant shall see it. Great Sahih. Chapter 2. Love of horses. It was narrated that Anas said, "There was nothing dearer to the Messenger of Allah after women than horses." Great Daif. Chapter 3. Desirable physical qualities in horses. It was narrated that Abu Wab, who was a companion of the Prophet, said, "The Messenger of Allah said, 'Call your children by the names of the prophets.' And the most beloved names to Allah, the Mighty and Sublime, are Abdullah and Abdur Rahman. Keep horses, wipe their forelocks and posteriors, and prepare them for jihad, but do not prepare them to seek vengeance for people killed during the Jahiliyyah. You should seek out Kumait horses with a white mark on the face and white feet, or red with a white mark on the face and white feet, or black with a white mark on the face and white feet." Great Daif. Chapter 4. Shikal horses. It was narrated that Abu Huraira said, "The Prophet used to dislike the shikal among horses, and the verdict is that of Ismail." Great Sahih. It was narrated from Abu Huraira that the Prophet used to dislike the shikal among horses. Great Sahih. Chapter 5. Seeing horses as an omen. It was narrated from Salim, from his father, that the Prophet said, "Omens are only in three things: a woman, a horse, or a house." Great Sahih. It was narrated from Abdullah bin Umar that the Messenger of Allah said, "Omens are in houses, women and horses." Great Sahih. It was narrated from Jabir that the Messenger of Allah said, "If there are omens in anything, they are in houses, women and horses." Great Sahih. Chapter 6. The blessing of horses. It was narrated that Anas bin Malik said, "The Messenger of Allah said, 'Blessing is in the forelocks of horses.' Great Sahih. Chapter 7. Twisting the forelocks of horses. It was narrated that Jarir said, "I saw the Messenger of Allah twisting the forelock of a horse with his two fingers and saying, 'Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection. Reward and spoils of war.' Great Sahih. It was narrated that from Ibn Umar that the Prophet said, "There is goodness in the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection." Great Sahih. It was narrated that Urwa al-Bariki said, "The Messenger of Allah said, 'Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection.' Great Sahih. It was narrated from Urwa bin Abi al-Jad that he heard the Prophet say, "Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection, reward and spoils of war." Great Sahih. It was narrated that Urwa said that he heard the Messenger of Allah say, "Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection, reward and spoils of war." Great Sahih. It was narrated from Urwa bin Abi al-Jad that the Prophet said, "Goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection, reward and spoils of war." Great Sahih. Chapter 8. A man training his horse. It was narrated that Khalid bin Yazid al-Juhani said, "Uqba bin Amir used to pass by me and say, 'O Khalid, let us go out and shoot arrows.' One day I came late and he said, 'O Khalid, come and I will tell you what the Messenger of Allah said.' So I went to him and he said, 'The Messenger of Allah said, Allah will admit 3 people to paradise because of 1 arrow. the one who makes it seeking good thereby, the one who shoots it, and the one who hands it to him. So shoot and ride, and if you shoot, that is dearer to me than if you ride. And play is only in three things: a man training his horse, and playing with his wife, and shooting with his bow and arrow. Whoever gives up shooting and learning it because he is no longer interested in it, that is a blessing for which he is ungrateful, or that he has rejected. Great Hassan. Chapter 9. The Supplication of the Horse. It was narrated that Abu Dar said, "The Messenger of Allah said, there is no Arabian horse, but it is allowed to offer 2 supplications every Sahar, end of the night. O Allah, you have caused me to be owned by whoever you wanted among the sons of Adam, and you have made me belong to him. Make me the dearest of his family and wealth to him, or among the dearest of his family and wealth to him." Great Sahih. Chapter 10. Stern warning against mating a donkey with a horse. It was narrated that Ali bin Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "A mule was given as a gift to the Messenger of Allah, and he rode it." Ali said, if we mate a donkey with a horse, we will have one like this." The Messenger of Allah said, "That is only done by those who do not know." Great Sahih. It was narrated that Abdullah bin Ubaydullah bin Abbas said, "I was with Ibn Abbas, and a man asked him, 'Did the Messenger of Allah recite during Sur and Asr?' He said, 'No.' He said, 'Perhaps he used to recite to himself.' He said, 'May your face be scratched. This question is worse than the first one.' The Messenger of Allah was a slave whose Lord commanded him, and he conveyed the message. By Allah, the Messenger of Allah did not specify anything for us about the people, except for 3 things. He commanded us to perform wudu properly, not to consume charity, and not to mate donkeys with horses. Great Hassan. Chapter 11. The Feed of Horses. It was narrated from Abu Hurairah that the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever keeps a horse for the cause of Allah out of faith in Allah and believing the promise of Allah, its feed, water, urine and dung will all count as hasanat in the balance of his deeds." Great Sahih. Chapter 12. Finish line of a race for horses that have not been made lean. It was narrated from Ibn Umar that the Messenger of Allah organized a horse race and sent them from Al-Hafiyah, and its finish line was Faniyat al-Wada, and he organized a race for horses that had not been made lean, and the course stretched from At-Taniya to the Majid of Bani Suraik. Great Sahih. Chapter 13. Making horses lean for racing. It was narrated from Ibn Umar that the Messenger of Allah organized a race for horses that had been made lean from Al-Hafiyah, and its finish line was Faniyat al-Wada. And he organized another race for horses that had not been made lean from At-Taniya to the Majid of Banu Suraik, and Abdullah was among those who took part in the race. Great Sahih. Chapter 14. Awards for victory in competition. It was narrated from Abu Hurairah that the Messenger of Allah said, "There should be no awards for victory in a competition except for arrows, camels or horses." Great Hassan. It was narrated from Abu Hurairah that the Messenger of Allah said, "There should be no awards for victory in a competition except on arrows, camels or horses, great Hassan. It was narrated that Abu Huraira said, "No award for victory in a competition is permissible except over camels or horses, great Hassan." It was narrated that Anas said, "The Messenger of Allah had a she-camel called Al-Adba, which could not be beaten. One day a Bedouin came on a riding camel and beat her in a race. The Muslims were upset by that, and when he saw the expressions on their faces, they said, 'O Messenger of Allah, Al-Adba has been beaten.' He said, 'It is right. It is a right upon Allah that nothing is raised in this world except He lowers it.' Great Sahih. It was narrated from Abu Huraira that the Messenger of Allah said, 'There should be no awards for victory in a competition except over camels or horses.' Great Sahih. Chapter 15. Jalab bringing. It was narrated from Imran bin Hussein that the Messenger of Allah said, "There is no bringing, no avoidance, and no shighar in Islam, and whoever robs is not one of us." Great Sahih. Chapter 16. Janab avoidance. It was narrated from Imran bin Hussein that the Messenger of Allah said, "There is no bringing, no avoidance, and no shighar in Islam." Great Sahih. It was narrated that Anas bin Malik said, "The Messenger of Allah raced with a Bedouin and the latter won. It was as if the companions of the Messenger of Allah were upset by this, so he said, 'It is a right upon Allah that there is nothing that raises itself in this world except that He lowers it.' Great Sahih. Chapter 17. 2 shares for the horse. It was narrated from Yahya bin Abad bin Abdullah bin As-Subair from his grandfather that he used to say, "In the year of Khaybar, the Messenger of Allah allocated 4 shares to As-Subair bin Al-Awam, a share of As-Subair, a share for the relatives of Safiya bint Abdul Muttalib, the mother of As-Subair, and 2 shares for the horse." Great Sahih.